Hello, this is Awkward Whispers, and today I am in my closet, and Google is my light source. The reason for that is because there's a lot of noise going on outside, because my mother is working on the lawn. She's always working on the lawn, so, especially since it's summer and it's nice out. And since it's summer, it's also very, very hot, which means I cannot close my windows, so I just wanted to keep it as quiet as possible. And also, there is less chance of somebody walking in on me doing a video. But I think if they open the closet, it'll be even weirder. If you see me, oh hey. Yeah, so I'll be continuing to read Pet Sematary to you. We're on chapter 2, I believe. So, using Google, we'll do that. There's some shoes. Oh my god, shoes. Okay. I'll just adjust some things. Chapter 2. In Louis Creed's memory, that one moment always held a magical quality, partly, perhaps, because it really was magical, but mostly because the rest of the evening was so wild. In the next 3 hours, neither peace nor magic made an appearance. Louis had stored the house keys away and neatly. He was a neat and methodical man, was Louis Creed. In a small manila envelope, which he had labeled Ludlow House Keys, received June 9th. He had put the keys away in the Fairlane's glove compartment. He was absolutely sure of that. Now they weren't there. While he hunted for them, growing increasingly irritated, Rachel hoisted Gage onto her hip and followed Eileen over to the tree in the field. He was checking under the seats for the 3rd time when his daughter screamed and then began to cry. Louis, Rachel called. She cut herself. Eileen had fallen from the tire swing and hit a rock with her knee. The cut was shallow, but she was screaming like someone who had just lost a leg. Louis thought, a bit ungenerously. He glanced at the house across the road where a light burned in the living room. "All right, Ellie," he said. "That's enough. Those people over there will think someone's being murdered. But it hurts." Louis struggled with his temper and went silently back to the wagon. The keys were gone, but the first aid kit was still in the glove compartment. He got it and came back. When Ellie saw it, she began to scream louder than ever. "No, not the stingy stuff. I don't want the stingy stuff, Daddy. No. Eileen, it's just... what is that? Mercurochrome. And it doesn't sting. Be a big girl," Rachel said. "It's just... no. You want to stop that, or your ass will sting," Louis said. "She's tired, Lou," Rachel said quietly. Sorry. "Yeah, I know the feeling." Hold her leg out. Rachel put Gage down and held Eileen's leg, which Louis painted with the medicine, in spite of her increasingly hysterical wails. "Someone just came out on the porch of that house across the street," Rachel said. She picked Gage up. He had started to crawl away through the grass. "Wonderful," Louis muttered. "Louis, she's tired, I know." He capped the medicine and looked grimly at his daughter. "There, and it really didn't hurt a bit. Fess up, Ellie." It does hurt. It hurt." His hand itched to slap her, and he grabbed his leg hard. "Did you find the keys?" Rachel asked. "Not yet," Lewis said, snapping the first aid kit closed and getting up. Gage began to scream. He was not fussing or crying, but really screaming, writhing in Rachel's arms. "What's wrong with him?" Rachel cried, thrusting him almost blindly at Lewis. It was, he supposed, one of the evenings of having married a doctor. You could shove the kid at your husband whenever the kid seemed to be dying. "Lewis, what's—" The baby was grabbing frantically at his neck, screaming wildly. Lewis flipped him over and saw an angry white knob rising on the side of Gage's neck. And there was also something on the strap of his jumper, something fuzzy, squirming weakly. Eileen, who had become quieter, began to scream again. "Bee! Bee! Bee!" She jumped back, tripped over the same protruding rock on which she had already come across her, sat down hard, and began to cry again in mingled pain, surprise, and fear. "I'm going crazy," Lewis thought wonderingly. "Wee! Do something, Lewis. Can't we do something? Got to get the stinger out." A voice behind them. Sorry if that was loud. A voice behind them drawled. "That's the ticket. Get the stinger out and put some baking soda on it. Bump will go down." But the voice was so thick, with down east accent, that for a moment Lewis' tired, confused mind refused to translate the dialect. "Got to get the stinger out and put some baking soda on it. It'll go down." He turned and saw an old man of perhaps 70, a hale and healthy 70. Standing there on the grass, he wore a blue shirt that showed his thickly folded and wrinkled neck. His face was sunburned, and he was smoking an unfiltered cigarette. As Lewis looked at him, the old man pinched the cigarette out between his thumb and his forefinger and pocketed it neatly. He held out his hands and smiled crookedly, a smile Lewis liked at once. And he was not a man who took to people. "Not to tell you your business, Doc," he said, and that was how Lewis met Judson Crandall, the man who should have been his father. That was chapter 2. How long is chapter 3? See if we can do this. Oh, yeah. Okay. He had watched them arrive from across the street and had come across to see if he could help when it seemed they were in a bit of a tight, as he put it. While Lewis held the baby on his shoulder, Crandall stepped near, looked at the swelling on Gage's neck, and reached out with one blocky, twisted hand. Rachel opened her mouth to protest. His hand looked terribly clumsy and almost as big as Gage's head. But before she could say a word, the old man's fingers had made a single decisive movement as apt and deft as the fingers of a man walking cards across his knuckles or sending coins into conjurer's limbo. And the stinger lay in his palm. "Big 'un," he remarked. "No prize winner, but it'd do for a ribbon, I guess." Lewis, oh God. Google, come back. Google, we need you. Okay. That's not exactly Google, but it'll work. Where was I? "Big 'un," he remarked. "No prize winner, but it'd do for a ribbon, I guess." Lewis burst out laughing. Crandall regarded him with that crooked smile and said, "A corker, ain't she?" "What did he say, Mommy?" Eileen asked, And then Rachel burst out laughing too. Of course it was terribly impolite, but somehow it was okay. Crandall pulled out a deck of Chesterfield Kings, poked one into the seamed corner of his mouth, nodded at them pleasantly as they laughed. Even Gage was chortling now, in spite of the swelling of the bee sting, and popped a wooden match alight with his thumbnail. The old have their tricks, Lewis thought, small ones, but some of them are good ones. He stopped laughing and held out the hand that wasn't supporting Gage's bottom. Gage's decidedly damp bottom. "I'm pleased to meet you, Mr. Judd Crandall," he said, and shook. "You're the doc, I guess?" "Yes," Lewis agreed. "This is my wife, Rachel, my daughter, Ellie, and the kid with the bee sting is Gage. Nice to know all of you." I didn't mean to laugh. That is, we didn't mean to laugh. It's just that we're a little tired. That, the understatement of it, caused him to giggle again. He felt totally exhausted. Crandall nodded. "Course you are," he said. But you came out, "Course you are." He glanced at Rachel. "Why don't you take your little boy and your daughter over to the house for a minute, Mrs. Creed? We can put some baking soda on a wash rag and cool that off some. My wife would like to say hello too. She don't get out too much. Arthritis got bad the last 2 or 3 years." Rachel glanced at Lewis, who nodded. "That would be very kind of you, Mr. Crandall." "Oh, I just answered to Judd," he said. There was a sudden loud honk, a motor winding down, and then one big blue moving van was turning, lumbering into the driveway. "Oh, Christ, and I don't know where the keys are," Lewis said. "That's okay," Crandall said. "I gotta sit. Mr. and Mrs. Cleveland, they that lived here before you, gave me a set. Oh, must have been 14, 15 years ago. They lived here a long time. John Cleveland was my wife's best friend. Joan Cleveland was my wife's best friend. She died 2 years ago. Bill went to that old folks' apartment complex over in Orrington. I'll bring 'em back over. They belong to you now, anyway." "You're very kind, Mr. Crandall," Rachel said. "Not at all," he said. "Looking forward to having young'uns around again. Except that the sound of this, as exotic to the Midwestern ears as a foreign language, was yawns. Yawns. You just want to watch 'em around the road, Mrs. Creed. Lots of big trucks on the road." Now there was the sound of slamming doors as the moving men hopped up out of the cab and came toward them. Ellie had wandered away a little, and now she said, "Daddy, what's this?" Lewis, who had started to meet the moving men, glanced back. At the edge of the field, where the lawn stopped and high summer grass took over, a path about 4 feet wide had cut smooth and close. It wound up the hill, curved through a low strand of bushes and a copse of birches, and out of sight. "Looks like a path of some kind," Lewis said. "Oh, yeah," Crandall said, smiling. "You know about it sometime, Missy. You want to come over and we'll fix your baby brother up?" "Sure," Ellie said, and then added with a certain hopefulness, "Does baking soda sting?" The end of chapter 3. And I gotta get out of this closet. It's getting really hot. See ya. Good night.